Hello everyone, Pallytime here. Welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Hope you guys are having a great day today. I'm trying out some new audio settings today. I got myself a physical compressor and limiter and de-esser and all that kind of stuff. And a new mixer as well. So the idea is that the compressor should kind of normalize the volume a little bit. If something's a little quiet, it'll bring it up. If something's too loud, it'll kind of push it back down and keep it a little softer. The idea is I won't have to fucking scream the whole time I record these videos. Because especially right now, my throat is pretty sore. So if it sounds a little weird today, don't worry. It's going to be an ongoing thing that I'm working on, and I'm going to try not to stress about it too much. About a year ago, I was doing the same thing, getting used to this new microphone right here, and just a very, very basic mixer. It's kind of weird that it kind of fell on the birthday of Heroes of the Storm, which just happened, I believe, yesterday. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day. We're going to be playing Chromy, and I'm going to kind of talk about my concerns with the character, and why I don't quite understand her still. It's going to sound a little ranty. It's going to sound a little negative. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not really. I'm just sharing my opinion. You can have your own, and that's okay.
Here we go again.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves on the Garden Terror map today. If you've never seen Chromie before, her Q ability is called Sandblast. It's a very long-range straight-line skill shot. It will only deal damage to heroes. It will not deal damage to structures, minions, anything like that. Only heroes. And that's very, 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 very important to discern. And one of the things that I think makes her a very, very strange character. And I kind of had these concerns when she came out, but I was trying to be optimistic and not make any, like, harsh judgments too quickly. But I still have the same concern. Anyway, we are going to go for a Compounding Aether, which is going to buff our Q ability once we land it 25 times on an enemy hero. Our W ability is called Dragon's Breath. It is an AoE skill shot that we can use at a pretty respectable range. The enemy team cannot see the area of effect for this. So if you've played Kog'Maw in League of Legends, it's very, very similar. And then our E ability is called Time Trap, and we are going to be using that to try to keep our characters safe. We're going to have one of these around us all the time, or at least that's the plan, and then we can kind of dive back to it in order to keep ourselves alive. So I'm just going to put one in this bush here. Now, as you can see, the enemy team actually has a pretty strong dive comp, which means that I'm going to have my hands full throughout the course of this game. The friendly team, Greymane, Chromie, Illidan, Nova, Johanna. The enemy team, Anubarak, Lunara, Tychus, Abathur, Kerrigan. So, we're basically forced into a situation where we always have to be very, very, very cautious of where we're standing, because if we take one step in the wrong direction, the enemy team could very easily collapse on top of us and deal some very significant damage. I will not sit here and pretend that I practiced a lot of Chromie, and I'm also not going to be using a build different from the build in my last Chromie video. So if you were looking for that, I'm sorry, it won't be here. That's mainly because I think the build that I was using in my first Chromie video is still the best build for me and my particular playstyle. So I don't want to change that. Let's go try to help with these seeds. Again, we run into the issue where we can't really do much of anything with these, because our only ability that deals damage to anything that's not a fucking hero is our W, and it's on a pretty significant cooldown. Now, one of the ways we can kind of help alleviate this problem is with the Bronze Talons talent at level 3, which we did pick up, and that gives us a critical auto attack every time we cast our Q. Now, again, I haven't really practiced Chromie, but I've had enough Chromies on my teams, especially in Hero League, to pretty clearly understand the limitations of the character. And, you know, I play the game for a living and shit, you know, so there's that too. Let's try to deal some damage with our shit here. We are going to be able to burst down Kerrigan, maybe Lunara as well, but I am going to have to back up pretty quickly. And it looks like we are going to die to some poison here right now. We do not have any support in this particular match, so that does become a bit of a frustrating circumstance to find yourselves in. But I guess my main issue with the character is we have 3, arguably 4 mages in the game right now. You have Jaina Proudmoore, Kael'thas, Sunstrider, is that his last name? Then Li Ming. Great characters, every single one of them. Jane has kind of fallen out from popularity recently for some reason. Don't quite understand that, to be totally honest with you. But KT has been strong since his initial release, even though his playstyle has substantially changed multiple times. And Li Ming, especially when she was released, was considered one of the most overpowered characters that the game had ever seen. Oh, I thought Tychus was in there. Well, they definitely know I'm here. Now we're getting dove on, and I don't think there's anything I can really do about it. We just kind of have to leave immediately. All of these characters that I just listed, the fourth one was Asmodan, by the way. I kind of consider Asmodan a mage. All of these characters I just listed can do very, 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 very high hero damage, as well as very high burst damage to heroes based on their build. Burst damage is basically the backbone of Chromy. She's a long-ranged artillery character who relies on taking someone out of a fight instantaneously if she wants to have any type of impact on the fight. I think more so than any other character, Chromy really requires a team to be built around her like no other. I used to say Sergeant Hammer was a very selfish pick. I believe Chromy is even more of a selfish pick in a lot of ways. Just because your team has to understand how you work and where you're going to be positioning at all times. If at any point you're in danger, your team has to fall back to save you, because in most circumstances, you will not have the tools in your own arsenal to make anything happen, to save yourself in any way. Now, I am going to try some long-ranged artillery stuff in here. Just going to try to poke down at this Tychus, try to deal as much damage to him as I can. But of course, I am just going to have to dip away the moment they start dealing damage to me. And Kerrigan could... Nope, she actually didn't decide to kill me there, but she definitely had the opportunity to do that. As you can see, our team's not really working together much in any capacity in this particular match. So it does become a little difficult to be effective on Chromy right now. Also, just the simple fact that everything we do is skill shot based, you know, that does hinder us a little bit. It is going to be hard to land these skill shots in a lot of successive skill shots. Of course, if I practice Chromy a bit more, that would be a little bit easier. We've only landed 8 of our Qs so far, so my damage is definitely limited right now. But even in like a basic soaking XP capacity, it's hard for her to even competently do that, just because she can be taken out so easily by dive comps. And who's strong in today's meta right now? Dive characters. A Noobrak can just jump right in, crowd control you, and have his whole team run around and be able to kill you in a moment's notice. I can't do anything about this, by the way. This engagement, I was just dead. Just because I was a few hundred pixels away from the wall. Can't really get away from that. She jumped behind me. I would have to run through her. My only option was to kill her. And of course, didn't land my skill shots because she's a mobile character. And I'm bad. That's important too. Zeratul goes and kills a squishy instantly. Zeratul, good against the mages that are actually good at surviving through things. So annihilating a little Chromy is not very difficult for a Zeratul to do. Now, one thing that is good about this map is we can actually get our stacks off of we can get our Q stacks off of the Garden Terror. That does count as a hero unit. So does the dragon on Dragonshire. So I mean, that's a good thing. We can kind of stack up our damage here a little bit. That should be a kill. Nope, never mind. But let's see, who else? Tracer, the most mobile character added to the game, very, very strong still, is able to kill Chromy within a matter of moments. Thrall, one Sunder into a wolf and she's dead. Sonya, one leap into a spear and she's dead. There's just so many ways to exploit the weaknesses of this character in today's meta that it's hard to justify picking her under any circumstances. Now, one thing she does incredibly well is bursting down unorganized teams. So for instance, we can do a temporal loop on this Kerrigan, line up her skill shots, and boom, she's dead. And there's no counterplay that she can do by herself there. It's basically a guaranteed kill every 70 seconds. But there is counterplay for that in an organized setting. So anything outside of quick match, any situation where you would have a team that's a little bit more organized, they can counter that with a very, very easy cleanse. And not to mention that it has the most noticeable spell effect the world has ever fucking seen. It's a big circle on the ground and a clock, and then a clock over the head of the target it's cast on, and a ticking sound. Like, you're gonna know when temporal loop's gonna go off, and then you just cleanse the effect right before it happens. There are some characters that can get out of it with some of their movement abilities, but honestly, not very many. Not very many at all. Let's try to help our Illidan here. It's not going too well for him, however. Let's try to lead her into... I'm just dead, okay. Yeah, I'm just dead. Alright. It's that kind of stuff that I find a little frustrating. Now, she does have a really good talent at level 12 for keeping yourself alive. And it's one that that I find myself picking up every time I play her, just because all of these very, very strict rules on positioning, I think are a little. I think they're a little dumb. I don't enjoy them. We can kind of bypass them with the bye-bye talent at level 12, which allows us to just instantly hearth out of anything. Now, crowd control will stop us, so a Kerrigan stun, a new Barak going in with Burrow or something like that, that will stop the effect from happening, but we can just, you know, gotta hope and pray that those don't hit us and then leave. We are 2 levels behind the enemy team right now, and as you can tell, we're still not really working together in any capacity. Which is a little disheartening. Looks like we have found Kerrigan on the enemy team. Let's try to land our Q. Hey, a new Barak jumped in the way of it. Let's try to keep landing these spells, though. I'm going to go ahead and use Temporal Loop on Nub. Try to land these abilities on him, and then Hearth out. And while I didn't die there, while I did manage to keep myself alive, and look at this AFK Greymane, we were able to live. So we did not grant any XP to the enemy team by using our Hearthstone right there. However, effectively, we were taken out of the fight as if it were a death in every other capacity. We're not going to be dealing any more damage. We are back in the base. We are going to have to run all the way back over there. So our Nova left the game, and our Greymane is AFK. As if I wasn't having a hard enough time just playing Chromie in general. We needed all these other like external factors to just kind of put the nails into the coffin and really just make it a fun experience for me, huh? One of the worst fucking elements in this game, can we all just agree on this really quick though, is Abathur Mines. There's no counterplay for Abathur Mines. Like zero. Well, guess I'm just gonna Hearth again. Unfortunately, it was interrupted this time, and I'm just dead. We don't have a support that can keep me alive, and our team was pushed up a little bit too far, and we are just gonna die. Illidan's up in the top lane. Hey, Greymane's rejoined us. How nice of him. How good it is to have our team together again. This 3-level deficit is usually when you would say to your team, guys, don't worry, let's just go soak XP. Let's try to get back in the game. However, this is very, very difficult for Chromy herself to do because she can't really clear lanes in any capacity, no matter what her build is. It's just not her forte. She cannot do it. Let's try to poke down this Tychus. He is going to disengage before I could do anything. And now, of course, we do have a plant pushing the middle lane and a Nova bot over here to help us. Is that an anti-magic shell? I believe it was. That triple tap, though, that's going to do it. That's going to stop him. All right, let's do a temporal loop on their Tychus, and I'm dead. Have to recall out. While the reward of landing your ultimate is honestly very satisfying, and the ensuing damage burst that comes from it is very, very fun, I'll admit that. I really enjoy her damage burst combo. The amount of risk versus reward of actually landing it, I just don't think it justifies the means. Let's try to land her. Nope, we're just gonna get a quadra kill. Nice. So she is both incredibly good and incredibly good at being punished in organized settings like this. And as you continue to get into organized settings, you know, again, where every team would have a support, and let's even say that your team is working with you, her main damage combo can be countered by the simple click of cleanse. Every other mage in the game could do arguably just about as much damage as Chromie can from roughly the same range, and probably have more of an impact on the game just because they can also farm XP and also deal siege damage, because most win conditions in Heroes of the Storm usually come from we just want to fucking team fight. Let's go push really, really hard. Or we just want to team fight. Let's go do an objective. And make no mistake, my Q ability does not hit the Garden Terror. My Q ability will not hit spiders on Tomb of the Spider Queen. I cannot help out with most objectives. If you queue into a Battlefield of Eternity with a Chromie, again, this is an unorganized setting because we didn't know which map we were queuing into without a draft telling us. If you queue into that setting, you're essentially telling your team that, well, we're gonna lose every objective because I have no way of dealing anywhere near comparable to this, anywhere near comparable damage to this objective as any other assassin in the game. Which doesn't feel very good. And, I mean, maybe they could give us a talent to do half damage to non-heroes. I don't really know. Looks like our Nova's still gone. Is she following me? She's no longer following me. She's following me again. Okay. Anyway, those are just some of my frustrations. You guys can let me know whether or not you agree with me. We are going to have this Garden Terror pushing pretty hard, but hey, that's a pretty good kill on the enemy team's abbot there. Someone ping the bot. Let's just get in the Garden Terror and then we'll go do some damage. Unfortunately, it looks like our team was jumped by the enemy team, even when they were on even numbers, and we are going to lose the majority of our team there, which is not encouraging. I know the plant doesn't disable minions anymore. I still cast it every time regardless, because I'm a man that's set in the past. Alright, well, let's just try to go top. The entirety of the enemy team is in the bottom lane, and I want to push in here and deal as much damage as I can before they really notice. It is very likely that they could end the game before I actually deal any significant damage, but this is really our only hope of pushing in very much at all. So let's go ahead and do that. Looks like they are kind of continuing to push. I'm basically at a point where I can't really go back to defend though, so yeah, it just kind of looks like we're gonna lose this game. Okay. I mean, character pick aside, when you have a game that two people leave, you kind of do expect to lose it anyway, but I would have preferred at least a somewhat like competitive match going on. But yeah, whatever. So, to summarize, I don't think Chromy does anything well enough to justify picking her over any other mage. And this was something that I was worried about when I was testing the character. Her ultimate loop thing, temporal loop, where she can just like completely one-shot someone. Again, very, very fun in unorganized settings. But get yourself into a match where people know what they're doing, and you're just going to be punished for it. You're going to be laughed at for pressing your button. And of course, her other heroic ability, while it does have some team utility, is just a slow. It doesn't help you siege in any capacity. It doesn't help with any of your other weaknesses. It's just a slow. Any of the characters that we talked about throughout the course of the game can just bypass that slow with some type of movement speed enhancement or mobility and kill you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And while that's happening, you also cannot siege on par with any other character in the game or help with objectives. So it doesn't feel good. Chromy does not feel like she's in a good place. Thank you all for watching, though. I hope you all enjoyed this video, even though it was kind of like really negative. Normally, I like to see the positivity and everything, but I just don't... I don't understand why Chromy would be picked over anyone else. And that's really all it comes down to. You can have a different opinion, and I would love to know your opinions on the character. You can let me know down in the comments. I'll be rating them. I always do. People don't think I do for some reason. And I'll see you all next time.